Hi everyone. In this video I'm going to show you some clips from a presentation that was done in 2011. It is about Agenda 21, which is now more formally known as Agenda 2030. It's by a woman named Rosa Koire. She is a liberal Democrat. She does work for some government agencies in real estate with the use of eminent domain. She will go over some things. I'm showing some clips because the whole video is technically almost 2 hours long. So what I want you to do with it is agree with it or not, take in that information and do some research from there. This is a good start to see what's actually going on with sustainable development. It's so what you're being sold about global warming, climate change, the coronavirus, social equalities, and distribution of income, things like that. You don't have to agree with this video, or you can agree with it, but I ask if you disagree or agree to please do your research on it, because it gives you some nice, good key factors where to start with your research. I mean, you can find a lot of it on Google. I do recommend hitting the libraries as well, so you get, because the internet can be a little confusing with what's real and what's not. So I hope you enjoy my video, and this is basically a warning. Again, this presentation was done in 2011, so it seems like it's going exactly what Agenda 21 has been planning on doing.
So, yes, I am a liberal Democrat, and I'm also pro-choice, pro-gay marriage. I am a lesbian. What else? I'm a feminist, anti-war, and as I say, the thing that gets them to throw tomatoes at me is I'm a native Californian. That's what is that although I may be a liberal Democrat or whatever, and people say to me, how can you be a Democrat? And I say, well, somebody's got to take back that party. So that party, the Democratic Party, has been hijacked. Yeah, that's right, and so has the Republican, and so has America. And that's what we need to do. It's a big job, but we're going to do it, and we're up to it. So you may, as I said, I might be a liberal Democrat, you may not be, but the thing is, this is an American issue. It's an issue for all of us as Americans, and we need to work together. All this stuff about, I don't see anything wrong personally with pointing fingers at the government, but we don't need to do it at each other, because it just keeps us separated, and we don't want to be separated at this time. It's too late for that. So, I'm here to talk with you about what I call the biggest public relations scam in the history of the world. And it's more than that. It's a takeover. It's a big takeover. It's the agenda for the 21st century. It's sustainable development. It's Agenda 21. United Nations Agenda 21. They call it the agenda for the 21st century, Agenda 21. That's not my word for it. It's not Area 54. It's not Catch 22. It's the agenda for the 21st century. Coming from an international group. It's a global plan implemented locally, and that is its strength, and it's also its weakness, because we are here locally. We are local. So this plan, it justifies and it enables the breakdown of our economy, and that is what you've seen. This is part of the plan. This is a vital element of United Nations Agenda 21. It's the redesign of your cities and your towns. You're seeing it now. You're going to see it even more. We're in a rural area. You're going to see yourself concentrated into the center of cities and eventually emptied out of any area that's considered to be rural or suburban and into a larger city. This is the plan. It's a loss of our industry, our agriculture, our food independence. Ultimately, it's the loss of our sovereignty as a free nation. This is the plan. This is the goal. So it's social engineering, and it's kind of, at this point, it's the acceptance of what I call the new poverty. It's the the sense that you're cool if you do without, if you live without, if you're giving it up, if you're reducing, if you're constraining yourself, if you're restricting, if you're drawing in. You are part of the new going forward. You notice how the word future doesn't exist anymore? It's just the going forward. That's what they think. So, it's not what is Agenda 21, it's what isn't. So, I want to talk to you for a minute about Senate Bill 1867 before I get into what I'm talking about, because this is United Nations Agenda 21. Senate Bill 1867 just got passed by your Senate. It is the, what do they call it, the National Defense Authorization Act, isn't that right? Yeah, National Defense Authorization Act. It is the reauthorization. And they just decided that we're enemy combatants here in our country, right here in the homeland, as they call it, right here in the United States. It designates the world as the battlefield. And it gives the government the right to detain and murder United States citizens, right here. Senator Lindsey Graham said that. He didn't use the word murder, but he didn't have to. Without charge or trial, you will be held. It does not matter to me. Thank you. It doesn't matter to me if you care if I'm gay. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me if you care if Kay and I are married we've been together 20 years. It doesn't matter to me. This is irrelevant. These are the small things. We are talking about our freedom as Americans. And this is the biggest thing we'll ever do in our lives, is defend our country and our Constitution. Assisting you in seeing what it looks like, because it doesn't come called Agenda 21. They're very careful about that. They meaning your government and the various and sundry non-governmental organizations which partner with your government in public-private partnerships, along with the corporations that fund much of this. These groups hide purposely, and I know you know that. So I'm here to help you take a look at what's behind that green mask, because if you can't see it, if you can't identify it, if you can't recognize it and name it, you can't resist it. You can't fight it. And that's what this is about, because awareness is the first step in the resistance. So there's an overarching political philosophy. And I know if you've seen me do this, I have done this before, and it's a good visual, I think, for communitarianism. Because there's a political philosophy, there's a social and political philosophy behind Agenda 21, because they have to justify what they're doing to us. And they do it by saying that it's all for the common good, right? It's all for the common good. You can't just think about yourself. You're a selfish individualist. You can't be thinking about just yourself. How dare you think that water is yours under your land? That's selfish. How dare you think that you should be able to use your property the way that you want to use it? That is selfish. We have to think about what is for the common good. So when you think about that, we have a Constitution. It guarantees our unalienable rights, rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's right, the pursuit of happiness. Who knows what we identify that as being? We've got our life, our liberty, and our pursuit of happiness, and that was given to us by our Creator, right? We're born with that, not granted by an individual or government. But communitarianism, though, that's totally different. Those are the rights of the community. They may not be written down. They may not be identified by anyone in particular in any particular time. They can be taken at any time, changed at any time, limited or restricted at any time. The rights of the community. The EU. The EU operates under the rights of the common good. Communitarian law is law in the European Union. And it is beginning to be law in the United States. So when you think about this, you're thinking about the rights of the individual being balanced with the rights of the community. And what does that mean? Well, you're jumping ahead, honey. Go to the head of the class. No, here's the deal. When you look at the way this works, the individual's rights versus the rights of the community. Now, under communitarianism, the individual's rights are like a feather, and the rights of the community are like a brick. They always outweigh the individual's rights. And another thing about communitarianism is that you will be pulled from what you know is right and what you know to be good by a series of crises. So, for instance, you'll be told something is terribly wrong, like maybe the planet is dying, or something like that. And then we pose this solution to this terrible problem that's happening. We got too many lights going in here. It's too warm in here. And we put these things together, and pretty soon you're pulled to a place where you're cold and it's dark. Let's say you've got your freedom, and that's a bottle of white paint. And then you've got slavery, and that's black. And you're going to pour those two together, and you got gray. And now you're going to be pulled a little bit further because you're going to mix that. That's somehow the new normal, that gray. You're kind of getting used to that. Now we're going to mix that with some more black paint. And you're going to be a little bit darker gray here. And that's the new normal. And pretty soon, when you pour them together, what do you have? You're looking pretty black there, aren't you? It's getting pretty dark. This is how it works. It's slow. It's incremental. And it comes constantly. This is the way it works. It's balance. It's called the third way. Balance is a jargon word, and as I said, this is the biggest public relations scam in the history of the world. And I'm not just saying that, because all of the terms that you will see must have been designed by some real expensive public relations firm, because they sure sound good, don't they? Walkable, bikeable, progressive, green, sustainable, visioning, right? All this stuff that sounds so good. So, you've got a third way. That's what happens. You get pulled and pulled and pulled, and then suddenly you've got the new normal. That is the third way. That is a balance of something you thought you would never give up. Your rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Somehow that gets balanced with slavery, and it becomes the new normal. This is the third way. So I'm going to use what I like to do, which is a journalistic framework: who, what, why, when, where, how, and I forget if there's something else in there. There might be. Anyway, but why is climate change. That's the why. Oh, no, it's not climate change. It's global warming. Global warming, climate change. Climate change, global warming. It's something like that, but I'll tell you, it's serious. It's bad. We are destroying the planet. The oceans are rising. The animals are dying. It's bad. Chaos, collapse. It's the end times. It's serious. It's your fault. Here's what our local newspaper said about it. This actual paper did a nice character assassination little article about me. I'm not going to read it to you. You'll have to find it for yourself. They said, it's hard to deny that the Earth is functioning well over capacity. Like an overworked horse, it's simply a matter of time before the global organism collapses. Whoa, that's some heavy stuff. UN to the rescue. We're going to save the planet. Yeah, and the UN's going to show us how. It's the World Commission on the Environment and Development. In 1987, it's the Brundtland Commission. Okay, here they go. This is where they really start to maneuver it. They got their sights. They're getting into position here. Okay, now you know what sustainable development is. Everybody's heard of that. You think you know what it is. Whatever it is, it's sustainable development water. Everything we got here, it's sustainable development, right? Okay, here's where it came from. This is the source. Development, it's from the Brundtland Commission, UN Commission in '87. It is development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs. Gee, that sounds nice. Well, except that we are totally compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs. And now we have to figure out what we're going to do about that terrible crisis. Okay. Well, the UN said to that Brundtland Commission, we're going to give you 5 years. You come back in 5 years with a solution, the action plan. The action plan for sustainable development. And that's what they did, 1992, 20 years almost. 20 years ago, they came up with Agenda 21, the agenda for the 21st century. Every single aspect of our lives is covered by Agenda 21, the agenda for the 21st century. See, and you thought I was making it up. Here it is. Earth Summit, Agenda 21, the United Nations Program of Action from Rio de Janeiro. Yeah, the Secretary of General, Maurice Strong, he said middle-class lifestyles are unsustainable. That's single-family residences where I'm guessing most of you live. Private vehicles, appliances, air conditioning, meat eating, that's a threat to the planet. You are a threat to the planet. You individual you. You and your house. If you're sitting on more than about 6,000 square feet of land and you got a house, you are an endangered species. Somebody better be protecting you. That's right. You're a threat to the planet. Dams, oh boy, that's serious. You don't want to be collecting water. Somebody might use it. That'd be really bad. Yeah, they did this thing, they call it the 3 pillars. Okay, so there's 3 pillars here. There's economy, ecology, and equity, social equity. Those are the 3 pillars of Agenda 21. And in my book, which you're certainly going to be getting, which I like to say is a gift to you, because it cost me about what I'm selling it for, and I want you to have it. It's a really good book, and the information in it is great. You can't probably see this, but it's 3 interlocking circles, and this is sort of the visual of Agenda 21, right? It's ecology, economy, and equity in sort of a Venn diagram, sort of a chunk of the Olympic symbol, sort of tied together. And where they meet in the center, that's where everything's in balance and it's all groovy. That's sustainable development. Sustainable. It's all sustainable when everything's in balance. Social equity. What the heck does that mean? Social equity, that means nobody has more than anybody else. That's what that means. You selfish individual, you. Okay, so Agenda 21 covers every single aspect of your life. It's You see it? It's 300 pages. They got your whole life there in 300 pages and 40 chapters. That's all it took. They're covering economics, housing, transportation, land use, health, education, water, energy, food production, and population control. Yeah, I know, that's the little genie in the bottle. You know, the Chinese, by the way, this is all over the world. What am I saying? It's all over the world. The Chinese have an Agenda 21 too. And they're working on a vaccine. A sterilization vaccine. They're working with the United States on that. You Google China Agenda 21 and take a look. So, philosophical basis for this, it's the precautionary principle. You probably heard of it, the precautionary principle. It says that, and this is real important, because think about this for a sec. We're talking about climate change, or global warming, or whatever the serious thing that's happening, I don't know what. You're talking about that and you're saying, it's not true, I got proof here. It doesn't matter because of the precautionary principle. Yeah. If an action or a policy has a suspected risk of causing harm to the public or the environment, in the absence of scientific consensus that the action or policy is harmful, the burden of proof that it is not harmful falls on the party taking the action. The burden of proof that it is not harmful, even if there is no scientific consensus. See what I mean? You got scientists, I got 30,000 scientists. Well, I got 50,000 scientists. No, I got 100,000 scientists. No, I've got 2 million scientists. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. This is precautionary principle number 15 of Agenda 21. In the absence of scientific consensus, you got to prove a negative. You are guilty until proven innocent under Agenda 21. That's the way it goes. In the EU, this is compulsory. It makes law. In the United States of America, well, they call it the approach, and it doesn't exactly make law, but it makes policy, and it does make law. This is, as I said, a global plan. It is global, and it's implemented locally, funded a lot of times by your tax dollars. In 1992 in Rio de Janeiro, it was signed on to by George H.W. Bush, along with 178 other heads of state of other nations. It is soft law, did not have to be ratified, and was not by your Senate. You never heard of it. The following year, after Clinton took office, he created the President's Council on Sustainable Development, which was made up of cabinet-level secretaries, about a dozen of them, including education, transportation, energy. I always forget who was in there. A lot of them, all the important ones. Agriculture, defense. Yeah, this is pretty serious. What did they do? The President's Council on Sustainable Development, besides having high government officials on it, also had some captains of industry, mainly the energy people and the chemical people. Ken Lay was on that. This was back before he disappeared. Do you guys really think Ken Lay's dead? I don't. So, no, I don't. I think he's running one. So anyway, I don't think he's dead. But anyway, since we're filming it, there you go, why not? So, hi folks. Okay, so the President's Council on Sustainable Development, what did they do? They said, hey, okay, well, let me get to it. Okay, what's the point of having this thing? Because I told you, Agenda 21 is an action plan. Action. Action. What does that mean? It means let's get Agenda 21 into every single nation in the world. Action. It's an action plan. The President's Council on Sustainable Development was created to do exactly that, to bring Agenda 21 into the United States without us knowing about it. The first thing they did was they gave a multi-million-dollar grant to the American Planning Association, a private organization, and they said, hey, do us a favor, you guys, for a few $1 million. Come up with a plan, come up with a land use blueprint that we can put in every single city, county, and state in the entire United States so that we get Agenda 21 into every single town in the whole U.S. And they said, okay, we'll do that. It took them about 6 years, and then they came up with Growing Smart Legislative Guidebook with model statutes for planning and the management of change. There's another one of those $1 million words for you, change. I said I'm a Democrat, and I am. I did not vote for Obama. But, yeah. Now, I didn't like that whole change thing. It didn't smell right. I think I was right about that. Change. Okay, but this was 93. And by the time they got done with this thing, it was 2002, right around the time that I recognized that there was a planning revolution going on in the 9 counties of the Bay Area and, by extension, in the United States. Growing Smart, a legislative guidebook with model statutes. Model statutes. Model statutes. You think your county is coming up with those laws on their own? You think your city is coming up with those ordinances all by their lonesome? No. They're getting it out of a book called Growing Smart, legislative guidebook with model statutes for planning and the management of change. Who asked them to manage change for us? Change. This look pretty good. All right, change. By 2002, this was in every university, every college, every planning department in the entire United States. Every single planner who comes out of a school has studied Growing Smart. Every transportation planner, every urban planner, every planning department's got it on their shelf and on their table, and they're using it. It is the action plan to get Agenda 21 into your planning departments. Growing Smart is smart growth. Smart growth. What is smart growth? It is the preferred development model for Agenda 21. Ground floor retail, about 12 feet high, built right to the edge of the sidewalk, 2 to 3 and above stories of residential. Above that could be apartments or condos. Round the back is your parking for one vehicle, often bankrupt, often vacant, often paid for with your property tax dollars. That's right. Or now, your transportation dollars. Okay, so that's what happened about 2002. That was a huge transformation of our property rights at that time. None of us knew about it. Well, that wasn't all. They said, you know what? We're a little bit worried that people might wake up at some point and realize that they're getting messed over big time. So we want to do something to kind of, work them over a little bit. We want to kind of get them on board with us a little bit, but we don't want to get them hip. We just want to placate them. We want to make them feel okay about losing their rights. So the President's Council on Sustainable Development did something else. They commissioned a book. It's called Sustainable America, A New Consensus. A new consensus. Now, of course, consensus, if you've got a dictionary, you know that consensus means agreement of all parties. And if you're an old feminist like me, you know what that's like. To get into a room with a bunch of women and you work out, you go over some issue and that you're all working on until you come to an agreement. And it might take you a whole night, it might take you days. That's a real consensus. But the new consensus, that's neutralization of the opposition. That's neutralizing your enemies. That's right. That's a Delphi meeting. That's going to a fish and game meeting where you're sitting at tables like a kindergartner and given your little crayons and told to write your little vision down like a good little... You're so good. You're so good. What do you mean you don't like it? What? You don't like it? Did you see that? He doesn't like it. Well, we're going to have to work on you because you're really messing up. I mean, don't you understand that this isn't about you as an individual? This is about Bambi being able to get together with Bambo. How could you possibly? That's a Delphi meeting. Consensus, the new consensus, is neutralizing your enemies. And you know what? Communitarianism is using peer pressure. Using peer pressure to come down on anybody who stands up and says, this is wrong. And you know what you need? You need enough people that they can't pull that on you. That's why we need everybody. Because, you know, it's just too easy, isn't it? It's going to get to the point, and this is getting to the, you know, I sort of use this as my wrap-up, but I'm kind of pissed off about Senate Bill 1867, so I just jumped right ahead. And I want to tell you that I want to live free in my country. That's right. And I don't want any, I'll tell you, I'm tough and strong. And if somebody comes after me, and they have plenty of times now, and tried to shame me and embarrass me for wanting to live free, I will not stand for it. I'm an American, and I won't take that. And I don't want you to either. We will not stand for this. We will not be made to attack you if you don't agree with those facilitators. And this is what the Delphi technique is. It was created by the Rand Corporation in the 1960s, and I'll tell you what, they used it in the 70s and 80s to bring an entire nation to acceptance of the idea of general plans and zoning. This was how they initially used it. Now, what is it? What's Delphi? It is to bring a group of people to a predetermined outcome. A plan that has already been determined in advance. They bring you in, they make you think it's your idea. Oh, you're so good. You came up with that on your own, didn't you? They bring you to that point where you think you're so cool, you came up with this. This is our plan. Hey, they didn't give you the option to kick their ass out of there, and I don't know if ass is okay to say, but you know, I'm sorry. If I was with a bunch of Democrats, it would be. But you know, this is the thing. They bring you to a point where you think that you are just so cool, that this is your plan, and you agree with it, and it's your idea, and aren't you great? And this is how they take your rights. And if you object, if you have the guts to object, they use peer pressure on you, they shame you, they embarrass you, they attack you. First they laugh at you. You know, I know you know that thing, but first they laugh at you, then they put your name in the paper with your picture, as they've done to me. Say you're shadowy, give you a hard time. Okay, you know, this is the way they do these things. For anybody who thinks I'm making this up, I did show you Agenda 21, but here it is. You can't see this, but this is real pretty. It's such a cute thing. It's Rescue Mission Planet Earth, a children's edition of Agenda 21. Oh my goodness. It's written by Boutros Ghali from the UN, Secretary General of the United Nations at the time, and the children of the world. Wow, it's got pictures. I'm sure they paid them all their royalties, the children of the world. I've got this, okay, it has a little action booklet, a children's activity booklet. Oh, It's so cool. It says, turning Agenda 21 into action is a big challenge for us all. Thousands of people in the United Nations and in governments are working on it. This booklet will show parents and educators how children can start to be a part of this work. Your kids are being indoctrinated. I know you know that. Your children are being used. They're being taught. They're being taught. What are they being taught? That they're a threat to the planet. Yeah. They're a threat to the planet and the individual. The individual is bad. It's all about working in a cohort. It's about nobody left behind. Everybody's equal. We all have to come up together. Nobody should stand out. No opportunity for real excellence or failure. So you have a mediocrity that becomes your middle ground, and everyone strives for it. So it's about reducing your greenhouse gases, all right, and fighting sprawl. This is where we are right now, is sprawl. I don't care anything north of San Francisco, sprawl. So, and you think I'm kidding. I'm not. Really. Sprawl is anything that's outside of a big city. Get National Geographic by any chance? National Geographic is a spokes picture thing for Agenda 21, as are most of these magazines now. I picked it up recently. I thought we were going to have, we thought we'd, have a relief, give ourselves a little break, get the National Geographic and look at some pictures. No, they got a new one in there now, a new article on cities, the answer to everything. Cities, the answer to sprawl. You're bad. You're driving your car. You're living on a piece of land. You got an animal. I don't care if it's a cat or dog. They're eating meat. That's not sustainable. So they want to reduce your greenhouse gases and fight sprawl. What does that mean? That means they want you to come into the city so that you can use public transportation on that straight line where...
I hope this video was helpful. Gave you some resources to look at. I also recommend looking at the United Nations and its partnerships with the World Banks and the International Monetary Fund. You can watch her full presentation on YouTube called Behind the Green Mask, Agenda 21, Rosa Koire. I'm not certain if I'm pronouncing her last name right, but it's definitely a good start to see where Agenda 21 is going and where our lives are going. It's the destruction of the middle class, and it's scary, and we are falling right into the trap.